Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show where we take a whole stack of sources, pull out the absolute key insights, and really get you up to speed fast.
Glad to be here.
Today we're getting into something that affects, well, all of us, every single day, our food choices. Specifically, we're doing a deep dive into plant-based diets. And maybe surprisingly, looking at how these choices ripple out way beyond just what's on our plate.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is really to unpack what plant-based actually means, because honestly, it's a bit more nuanced than a lot of people think.
Yeah, it gets thrown around a lot.
It does. So we'll dig into the health benefits, which are pretty significant, and the environmental side too. Plus, we'll touch on some really cool food tech innovations.
Interesting.
And the cultural shifts making this all happen. And importantly, we'll tackle the common criticisms head on. The idea is to give you that shortcut, get you informed without drowning you in info.
Okay, perfect. So let's start there. Let's unpack this term plant-based because, like you said, it's everywhere, but maybe not always used consistently.
Exactly. At its heart, plant-based is more like a philosophy, or maybe think of it as a spectrum. It's about making foods that come primarily from plants the foundation of what you eat.
So vegetables, fruits.
Right. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds. That's the core. It's really about where your plate leans, It's not necessarily about being 100% perfect or super rigid.
So it doesn't automatically mean you're vegan or vegetarian?
Not always, no. That's the key point. It's more about proportion. Choosing plants first. You might still eat some meat, just, less often. Or maybe you still have eggs or dairy, but they aren't the main event anymore. Plants take center stage.
That makes sense. It's about the emphasis.
Yeah.
So what are those core building blocks then? What's typically in the plant-based toolkit?
Well, you're building on a really vibrant base. Think leafy greens, spinach, kale, all that good stuff. Root vegetables like carrots, sweet potatoes. Then your cruciferous ones, broccoli, cabbage.
The powerhouses.
Definitely. And then, of course, fruits, berries, citrus, apples, you name it. For whole grains, think brown rice, quinoa, oats are huge.
Okay.
And for protein, which people always ask about, you've got lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, the whole legume family, plus nuts and seeds for healthy fats and texture almonds, chia, walnuts, flaxseed, and things like avocados, olive oil. It's a rich foundation.
It sounds very diverse, actually. Now, within this broad idea, people follow different paths. You mentioned a spectrum.
Yeah.
What are the, say, 4 main variations we should probably understand?
Yeah, knowing the labels helps clear things up. So first, maybe the most well-known is vegan.
Right.
And the common idea is just diet, but often it's a whole lifestyle. Absolutely no animal products, so no meat, fish, dairy, eggs. Even things like honey or gelatin are usually out.
Oh, the reasons.
Yeah.
Usually ethical.
Often, yes. Strong ethical reasons about animal welfare. Environmental impact is a big one too, and health, of course. The key thing nutritionally, though, B12. You pretty much have to supplement or eat fortified foods because it's just not reliably in plants.
Okay, B12 noted. Then there's vegetarian. Most people kind of get this one, right?
Yeah, more familiar. Vegetarian means no meat or fish, but dairy and or eggs are typically included.
Ah, so subtypes exist.
Exactly. Lacto-vegetarian includes dairy, but not eggs. Ovo-vegetarian is eggs, no dairy. And then lacto-ovo, probably the most common, includes both. Reasons vary: health, ethics, sometimes religious reasons, like it's very common in parts of India.
Got it. And what about flexitarian? That seems to be gaining a lot of traction.
It really is. Flexitarian, or you might hear semi-vegetarian, basically means you're eating mostly plant-based, but you still occasionally have meat or fish.
So more flexible, hence the name.
Precisely. And that's its appeal, I think. It offers a lot of the health and environmental upsides without requiring, full restriction. It's accessible, great for people wanting to reduce meat, not necessarily eliminate it.
That makes a lot of sense for easing into it. Okay, and the last one, whole food plant-based, or WFPB. What makes this one distinct?
WFPB is often seen as the, let's say, most health-focused version. The emphasis is squarely on whole, unprocessed plant foods.
So what does it avoid specifically?
Right, that's key. It avoids refined grains, so white flour, white rice. Added sugars are out, oils are typically minimized or avoided, and crucially, it cuts out processed plant-based junk food.
Like those vegan cookies or some of the heavily processed meat alternatives.
Exactly. Those might be plant-based, but not whole food plant-based. WFTB is often used for specific health goals, like Dr. Dean Ornish used it for heart disease reversal, type 2 diabetes management.
Serious stuff.
Yeah. The challenge, it can be strict. It often means more cooking from scratch, really reading labels.
Okay, so understanding that whole spectrum, vegan, vegetarian, flexitarian, WFPB. Why is that important for someone listening right now?
Well, first, it helps you choose an approach that feels realistic and, importantly, sustainable for you, your life, your beliefs. It also helps you understand where others are coming from with their choices. And maybe the biggest point, it shows that every single step towards eating more plants is actually beneficial. It's definitely not all or nothing.
Right. Any shift on that spectrum counts.
Hmm.
Okay, so the personal benefits seem huge. Let's zoom in on those incredible health upsides. We're talking reduced risk of chronic diseases, better gut health, maybe even living longer. How does eating more plants actually deliver on that?
Yeah, the connection to overall health is really profound. Let's take lower blood pressure. It's not just that plant foods are low in sodium, though that helps. They're packed with potassium, which helps balance fluids.
Okay.
But also things like antioxidants, nitrates found naturally in greens, they actively help your blood vessels relax and function better. It's
Yep.
about what's in the plants, not just what's missing.
Which I imagine ties directly into reducing heart disease risk.
Absolutely. When your diet is rich in fiber, those healthy fats, nuts, avocados, seeds, and antioxidants, you're doing more than just lowering LDL, the bad cholesterol. You're actively fighting inflammation throughout your body.
Ah, the inflammation connection.
Exactly. And since animal products are the main source of saturated fat, which contributes to plaque buildup in arteries, reducing them just fundamentally shifts your risk profile.
And how does it specifically help with cholesterol levels? You mentioned LDL.
So soluble fiber, you find tons of it in oats, beans, lentils. It basically acts like a sponge in your gut. It binds to cholesterol and helps carry it out of your body before it gets absorbed.
Interesting mechanism.
Yeah. And what's really cool is plant-based diets often seem to boost the good HDL cholesterol while lowering that LDL. It's a win-win.
Okay. And what about type 2 diabetes? A lot of people are concerned about blood sugar. How does fiber play a role there?
Fiber is huge here. It dramatically slows down how quickly sugar gets absorbed into your bloodstream after you eat. So you avoid those sharp spikes and crashes in blood sugar and insulin.
More stable energy.
Right. Plus, plant-based diets tend to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your body uses the insulin it produces more effectively. And often, people manage their weight better, which is another big factor in diabetes risk.
Which leads us to healthy weight management. That's a big reason many people explore this. Why are plants so effective, often without needing to count calories?
It really comes down to density. Plant foods are generally nutrient-dense, but less calorie-dense than many processed or animal-based foods.
Meaning more bang for your buck, nutritionally.
Exactly. And that high fiber content, it makes you feel full and satisfied for longer. It naturally helps regulate appetite and makes it harder to overeat. For many, weight loss just kind of happens naturally.
Now, let's talk gut health. This feels like a really hot topic in wellness right now. What's the key insight about fiber and our gut microbiome?
It's a game-changer understanding. Fiber is essentially the primary fuel for your gut bacteria. A diverse, thriving microbiome is critical for digestion, sure, but also immune function, even producing chemicals like serotonin that affect your mood.
Wow, the gut-brain connection.
It's real. And plant-based diets consistently show they increase the diversity of good gut bacteria. This strengthens the gut lining, helps prevent things like leaky gut, which is linked to inflammation. The ripple effects are huge: less body-wide inflammation, better immunity, even clearer skin and mental focus for some.
That's fascinating. Okay, and for anyone interested in longevity, the Blue Zones concept is captivating. These places where people regularly live past 100,
Yeah.
what's the dietary link?
The Blue Zones are amazing case studies: Okinawa in Japan, Loma Linda in California, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Ikaria in Greece. Super high rates of healthy centenarians.
And the common thread.
Diet is a huge one. Across these very different cultures, their traditional diets are overwhelmingly plant-based. Meat, dairy, processed stuff, eaten sparingly, if at all. Their staples are often beans, whole grains, leafy greens, sweet potatoes, nuts. Simple whole foods.
And it's not just diet, right? Other lifestyle factors.
Oh, absolutely. They also tend to have low rates of heart disease, cancer, dementia, lower BMIs, lower blood pressure, but also strong social connections, community focus, and they stay naturally active throughout their lives. It's a whole package, but diet is a cornerstone.
This isn't just anecdotal, though. Are there major studies or health organizations backing this up?
Definitely. Big players like the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, they now explicitly recommend incorporating more plant-based meals. And massive long-term studies like the Adventist Health Studies or the Epic Oxford study provide really strong evidence linking plant-based eating patterns to significantly lower risks of major chronic diseases. It's well-supported science.
Okay, so the benefits for personal health are clear and compelling. But now let's shift focus, because the impact on the planet is, well, it's staggering. The global food system has a massive environmental footprint.
It really does. When you look at everything growing crops, raising animals, processing, transport, the whole system accounts for roughly a third of all global greenhouse gas emissions. It's huge.
And within that, animal agriculture often gets singled out. Why is its impact so particularly high?
Several reasons, but a big one is emissions. Livestock farming alone is responsible for somewhere between, say, 18 to 25% of total global greenhouse gases.
Yeah, up to a quarter.
Yeah. And a key culprit is methane, especially from cows' burps, essentially. Methane is way more potent than CO2 in the short term, maybe 25 times more potent over 100 years, but it traps heat much faster. So it's a powerful lever for climate change.
And what about resources like water and land? Those numbers are often shocking.
They really are. Take beef. Producing just 1 kilogram of beef can require something like 15,000 liters of water. It's an incredible amount.
15,000 liters.
Yeah.
For 1 kilo.
Yeah. And think about land. Huge areas are needed for grazing, but also vast amounts of land are used just to grow the feed for the livestock. Like, over 70% of the world's soy isn't eaten by people, it's fed to animals. It's a very inefficient way to produce calories, like a middleman taking a huge cut.
So how do plant-based foods compare in terms of resource use? Is the difference really that dramatic?
Oh, it's drastic. For land, plant foods need way, way less. Some estimates suggest if the world shifted significantly towards plant-based diets, we could cut agricultural land use by maybe 75%.
75%, that's enormous.
Right. It's an area the size of the US, China, the EU, and Australia combined. Imagine rewilding that land, letting forests regrow.
Incredible potential. And water use.
Similar story. Foods like lentils, beans, grains, they use just a tiny fraction of the water needed for meat. There's that famous comparison. The water footprint of a single hamburger is roughly equivalent to taking showers for like 7 months.
That really puts it in perspective.
Okay.
And emissions.
Again, much lower. Plant foods generally produce somewhere between 2 to 10 times fewer greenhouse gas emissions per kilogram compared to meat or dairy. Even things sometimes criticized as resource-intensive, like almonds or avocados, are still significantly better than most animal products from a climate perspective.
And this all connects to deforestation and biodiversity loss.
Yeah.
Especially in places like the Amazon.
Directly, huge swaths of rainforests are cleared, often illegally, specifically for cattle ranching or to grow soy, again, mostly for animal feed. This not only releases massive amounts of stored carbon, but also destroys habitats for countless species.
It's a double whammy, releasing carbon and destroying the forests that absorb it.
Exactly. Plus, livestock farming itself can introduce diseases to wildlife. Invasive species can spread. It disrupts whole ecosystems.
Are there other, maybe less obvious environmental impacts?
Yeah, things like ocean dead zones caused by fertilizer and manure runoff from large-scale farms polluting waterways. Freshwater pollution is a big one. And then there's the issue of antibiotic overuse in livestock.
Contributing to antibiotic resistance.
Yes, it's a major public health concern linked back to how we raise animals for food.
So pulling it all together, the land, water, emissions, biodiversity. What's the potential big picture impact if there was a significant global shift toward more plant-based eating?
It could be truly transformative for the planet. We're talking potentially cutting food-related emissions by up to 70%, saving astronomical amounts of water, helping preserve forests and protect endangered species. It really highlights how individual food choices can scale up to have a massive collective impact.
Okay, that environmental picture is powerful. Now let's pivot to something really exciting. The future. It feels like innovation in the plant-based space is just exploding, making it more accessible than ever.
It absolutely is. The market growth is phenomenal in many parts of the world. UK, Germany, US, Canada, Australia, Brazil, you name it.
And it's not just vegans buying this stuff, right?
No, that's the key. Mainstream consumers, people who aren't vegan or vegetarian, are actively choosing plant-based options more often, whether it's for health, the environment, or just curiosity. It's moving beyond a niche market.
And we see that even in fast food. Burger King's Impossible Whopper, McDonald's McPlant, KFC doing plant-based chicken, Starbucks with all the milk options. That seems huge for accessibility.
It's massive. It normalizes it. It makes it available across different income levels, different lifestyles. If you can grab a plant-based option easily on the go, that removes a major barrier for a lot of people.
Definitely. But beyond the fast food versions, there's some seriously cutting-edge food innovation happening.
Yeah.
Right? Like lab-grown meat.
Yeah, or cultivated meat, as it's often called. This is fascinating stuff. It's actual animal meat, but grown from animal cells in a lab in bioreactors without raising and slaughtering the animal.
So identical meat, potentially without the ethical or environmental baggage.
That's the goal. Companies like Upside Foods, Eat Just, are pioneers here. It's already approved for sale in places like Singapore and the US for certain products. Still early days for large scale, but the potential is huge.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And what about things like plant-based eggs and dairy? Are they getting more sophisticated?
Absolutely. You have products like Just Egg, made from mung beans, that really mimics the texture and cooking properties of scrambled eggs incredibly well.
I heard about that one.
And then there's fermentation technology. Companies are now using precision fermentation to create actual dairy proteins whey, casein, but without involving cows at all.
So real dairy protein made by microbes.
Exactly. Perfect Day is a company doing this, and their proteins are being used to make ice cream, cream cheese, things that taste and perform exactly like traditional dairy because molecularly they are the same protein. That tackles the taste and texture challenge head on.
That is a game changer. And I've heard about mycelium using fungi.
Right. Mycelium is the root structure of mushrooms and fungi. It's being turned into meat alternatives that have this naturally fibrous, chewy texture that's quite similar to muscle tissue.
Giving it that satisfying bite.
Precisely. It's nutritious, low impact to produce. Companies like Miati or Corn have been using fungal proteins for a while, but the newer applications are really focused on mimicking whole cuts of meat.
So all this innovation, how is it showing up for us regular folks in the supermarket?
It's changing the aisles completely. First, much clearer labeling. You see vegan or plant-based prominently displayed, better nutritional info, clearer allergen warnings. That helps people navigate.
And just more stuff.
Definitely more shelf space. Entire sections dedicated to plant-based milks, cheeses, yogurts, meats, frozen meals, big brands that everyone knows: Oatly, Beyond Meat, Silk, Violife. They're mainstream now.
And what about the price and availability? Historically, some of these alternatives were quite expensive or hard to find.
That's shifting too. As demand grows and production scales up, costs are coming down. It's still variable. Some specialty items are pricey, but staples are getting much more competitive. Plus, you see more store brands, private label options entering the market, which really helps with affordability.
So wrapping up this innovation section, why does all this matter so much to someone listening? What's the immediate takeaway?
It matters because these innovations are breaking down the old barriers: taste, texture, convenience, cost, availability. The reasons people might have hesitated before are rapidly disappearing. Technology is making plant-based eating not just possible, but genuinely appealing, delicious, and practical for almost anyone.
Okay, so the food itself is changing. But this isn't just happening in labs and supermarkets. There are much broader cultural and social shifts driving this, right? Social media and celebrity influence seem undeniable.
Oh, massively influential. When high-profile figures like Beyoncé, Lewis Hamilton, Joaquin Phoenix, Natalie Portman, Billie Eilish talk openly about eating plant-based, it gives it huge visibility and, frankly, makes it seem cool, aspirational.
Lewis Hamilton even links it to his performance, right?
Exactly. He's very vocal about how his vegan diet boosts his energy and recovery as an elite athlete. That challenges old myths about needing meat for strength and really resonates with people.
And how does social media amplify this? Platforms like Instagram, TikTok.
They're like visual wildfire for this movement. You have endless streams of gorgeous plant-based food photos, super simple recipe videos that go viral, what I eat in a day, glimpses into the lifestyle, quick explainers on health or ethics.
Hashtags.
Yeah, hashtag plant-based, hashtag vegan life, hashtag meatless Monday, millions and millions of posts. Influencers make it look accessible, appealing, and build a real sense of community around it. It normalizes it incredibly quickly.
Beyond the online world, there seems to be a growing ethical awareness, a more conscious way of thinking about food origins.
I think so, yes. There's definitely more questioning of industrial farming practices, the confinement, the conditions. People are learning more about how their food is produced.
And a growing sense of animal sentience.
Yes, particularly among younger generations. There's a greater understanding or belief that animals feel pain, have emotions, form bonds. That awareness makes it harder for some people to disconnect the meat on their plate from the living being it came from.
Documentaries have played a huge part in raising that awareness, haven't they?
Absolutely pivotal. Films like Cowspiracy really hammered home the environmental impact of animal agriculture. What the Health made strong, if controversial, links between diet and disease. And the Game Changers.
That one made waves.
It really did. By focusing on elite athletes thriving on plant-based diets, it directly challenged the deeply ingrained cultural narrative linking meat consumption to masculinity and peak physical performance. These films spark debate and often lead people to seriously reconsider their diets.
We're also seeing changes in education and public campaigns, moving beyond individual choices to institutional shifts.
That's right. It's not just activists anymore. You see schools, universities, hospitals, even prisons making a conscious effort to offer more plant-based meal options.
Why are they doing that?
It's a mix of reasons, responding to demand, potential health benefits for their populations, cost savings in some cases, and meeting institutional sustainability goals. Some cities are even promoting things like Meatless Mondays in public schools, like New York City did. It signals a broader acceptance.
And you mentioned youth involvement earlier. Are younger generations really key here?
They seem to be major drivers. Gen Z, millennials, they tend to be more concerned about climate change, more digitally connected to information about ethics and health, and generally more open to trying new foods and lifestyles. They're pushing for change in cafeterias, in their families, and in the marketplace.
Right. So when we step back and look at all these cultural threads, media, ethics, documentaries, institutions, youth, what does it tell us about why these shifts matter?
It shows that plant-based eating is becoming more than just a diet. It's evolving into a social movement. It's tied up with identity, with values, environmentalism, compassion, health, even personal empowerment. Food is becoming a really powerful way for people to express who they are and what they care about.
Okay, but like any major lifestyle choice, going plant-based isn't without its potential hurdles or common questions. Let's navigate some of those nuances, starting with the big one, nutritional concerns. Is it really healthy? Can you get everything you need?
That's probably the number one question, and it's a valid one. The short answer is yes. A well-planned plant-based diet can be incredibly healthy and provide everything you need. But the key words are well-planned.
Meaning you have to pay attention.
Exactly. Like any diet, if you just eat junk food, even vegan junk food, you won't be healthy. There are specific nutrients you need to be mindful of.
Let's break those down. Vitamin B12 comes up constantly.
Right. B12 is essential for nerves, red blood cells. It's primarily made by microorganisms and found reliably in animal products, but not really in plants themselves unless they're fortified. So vegans absolutely need a reliable source.
Which means supplements or fortified foods.
Yes. A simple B12 supplement or regularly eating foods fortified with B12 like many plant milks, some breakfast cereals, nutritional yeast is crucial. It's non-negotiable really, but easily managed.
Okay. What about iron? We hear about iron deficiency.
So plants contain non-heme iron, which isn't absorbed as easily as the heme iron from meat, but you can definitely get enough. The trick is eating plenty of iron-rich plant foods, lentils, chickpeas, spinach, tofu, fortified grains.
And pairing them correctly.
Exactly. Pair them with vitamin C sources, oranges, berries, bell peppers, broccoli. Vitamin C significantly boosts non-heme iron absorption. So maybe have some red peppers with your lentil soup or an orange with your fortified cereal.
Smart strategy. Calcium. Usually linked with dairy.
Yep, but dairy isn't the only source. Fortified plant milks are often comparable to cow's milk. Tofu made with calcium sulfate is great. Leafy greens like kale and collard greens, almonds, tahini, they all contribute. Variety is key.
And omega-3 fatty acids? Good for brain and heart health, usually associated with fish.
Right. Specifically, EPA and DHA are the ones most readily used by the body. The best direct plant-based source is algae oil supplements. That's where fish get their omega-3s from originally anyway.
Cut out the middle fish.
Sort of. You can also get ALA, another omega-3, from flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds. Your body can convert some ALA to EPA and DHA, but the conversion rate varies. So relying on those ALA sources plus maybe an algae supplement is a common strategy.
Got it. And the perennial question, protein. Can you really build muscle, feel strong, get enough protein without meat?
Absolutely, yes. This is probably one of the biggest myths. Protein is abundant in the plant kingdom, Oh, legumes, beans, lentils, peas, peanuts, soy products like tofu, tempeh edamame, nuts and seeds, whole grains like quinoa and oats, even vegetables have some
So
protein.
it's about variety.
Variety and quantity. As long as you're eating enough calories from a diverse range of these whole plant foods throughout the day, meeting your protein needs is generally not an issue, even for athletes. Your body pulls amino acids, so you don't need complete proteins at every single meal.
So bottom line on nutrition.
A poorly planned any diet can lead to deficiencies, but a well-planned plant-based diet can be perfectly healthy, adequate, and even optimal at all stages of life. It just requires a bit of awareness.
Okay, good to clarify. Another common criticism is the perception of expense. It's too expensive to eat plant-based. What's the reality?
That's a really common belief, often fueled by seeing, fancy $10 vegan cheeses or expensive meat substitutes in the media or specialty stores.
Right, those can be pricey.
They can. But if you build your diet around the staples, things like dried beans, lentils, rice, oats, potatoes, onions, carrots, cabbage, seasonal fruits, these are consistently among the cheapest, most nutrient-dense foods you can buy in any supermarket.
So focusing on whole foods makes it affordable.
Absolutely. Eating plant-based based on whole foods can actually lower your grocery bill significantly compared to a diet heavy in meat and processed foods. Think about traditional cuisines, Indian dal, Mexican bean burritos, Ethiopian lentil stews, often naturally plant-based and very budget-friendly.
That's a great point about cultural context. Now, what about the ultra-processed pitfall? We touched on this earlier. Just because it's labeled vegan doesn't automatically mean healthy.
Exactly. This is crucial. There's a health halo effect. People see plant-based or vegan and assume it must be good for them.
But it could be loaded with...
Sodium, refined oils, added sugars, various additives, just like conventional junk food. Vegan sausages, nuggets, cookies, ice creams, candy, many are highly processed and offer little nutritional value beyond calories.
So it's not about just swapping animal junk for plant junk.
Precisely. That's where distinguishing between plant-based as a broad category and whole food plant-based, WFPB, as a specific health-focused approach becomes important again. For optimal health benefits, the focus should remain on whole or minimally processed plant foods most of the time. Enjoy the processed treats occasionally, sure, but don't make them the foundation.
Okay, so taking a balanced perspective on these criticisms, what's the wrap-up?
The wrap-up is that, yes, you need to be mindful of certain nutrients, like B12. Yes, focusing on whole foods is key for both health and affordability. And yes, just because it's vegan doesn't make it health food. But none of these are insurmountable barriers. They're manageable challenges that require awareness, maybe a little planning, but they don't invalidate the profound benefits that a well-constructed plant-based diet can offer. Critics have valid points about the need for education and accessibility, but the core principles hold strong.
That seems like a really fair assessment.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, unpacking the definition, digging into the huge health and environmental upsides, looking at exciting innovations, the cultural shifts, and tackling those common criticisms head-on. Looking back over our whole deep dive, what feels like the single most important takeaway for you?
For me, I think it's the idea that while there are things to consider, maybe adjustments to make, none of the challenges are deal breakers. They're all perfectly manageable with a bit of know-how.
Right. It's not inherently difficult or deficient.
Not at all. It's about being informed, being mindful, and honestly, once you get into the swing of it, focusing on plants can become really intuitive, enjoyable, and incredibly rewarding on multiple levels.
I agree. And remembering it's not about perfection or rigid labels, right? It's more about the direction you're heading. It's about learning, trying things out, seeing what fits your life.
Exactly that, finding what works for you.
So as we wrap up, here's a thought to leave you with. Considering just how much our food choices shape not only our own health and vitality, but also the health of the planet we all share, what's maybe one small, curious step you might be inspired to take on your plate next?